Hi, I'm Dave Gray. I run this project, which is a social enterprise. I run a company called Rampant Dragon Limited, which is a commercial company which runs a series of office spaces. I'm a director of Vic Studios, which is a young person's music project, as well as being an associate producer of the Sign Dance Collective International.
So how did this project come about?
This project was a response to the Wrexham Year of Culture, which happened in 2011. That was actually a series of 4 brochures promoted by the local authority who we worked with at the time. I was chair of the Wrexham Arts Forum, and what we tried to do was create a legacy for that year. During 2011 we found that Wrexham was actually hosting more cultural events than Chester, Shrewsbury and Oswestry put together. And they were really impressively arranged within these 4 brochures, so we could actually see the real rich vein of cultural activity in Wrexham. You hear a lot of times that there's nothing going on in Wrexham, but actually that was proven otherwise. There's actually an incredible amount going on. So with this project, what we tried to do was, as I say, create a legacy, create a long-term approach really to promoting the arts in Wrexham and the surrounding areas. We started off by looking at physical ways that we could do that. So we came up with a series of magazines which have event listings, but also little bits of reportage from various sort of local writers, telling people a little bit about what's actually going on within the local area. In addition to that, we put up a website and we started to actually promote things online through social media as well. That's really how we started, but actually very quickly we were being asked to do various sort of interventions. One of our first ones was at the small garden next to a pub called the Nag's Head in town, which is very close to us where we're sitting today. And we decided to look at that garden. The council wanted it. It was a bit of scrubland really, and the council were very keen to make it look more attractive. So we brought in a mural maker in the form of Adam Pritchard, who's a local graffiti artist, and he was able to create a mural. We also started to work with Incredible Edible, who plant edible food in an urban environment that people can then help themselves to, or can be provided to people who are unable to source food themselves, healthy and organic. And a little bit of an introduction really to our partnership approach. One of the things you can see from the magazine probably is the amount of logos that we've got, and those really were it was the outset of looking at who we could work with in the local area to be able to improve Wrexham's cultural outlook.
What are some of the things that this project have done?
Well, I've already talked about the community garden and the magazines and the online stuff. But in 2012, towards the end of the year, we started looking at some physical sort of interventions. So we started to initially take on an empty shop, which was in Eagles Meadow, that we took on for a month at the time. We showed local artwork, and we also started to sell tickets and various promos for Focus Wales. We tried to get hold of then another empty shop for Focus Wales that coming year, but actually we weren't able to from various reasons. But that really was a bit of a kick-off for us. We started really sort of with our physical stuff by looking at a project called Reimagine Wrexham. We encourage sort of local people to get involved and actually look at the town. So we worked with an artist called Mikey Jones. Mikey, well-known painter from Wrexham, and he worked with us, and we created a cityscape of Wrexham, which took place at the Oriel Gallery, which was part of the library at the time. And that cityscape went across the walls. Mikey drew them sort of directly onto the walls in a large scale. Then initially we got in between 30 and 40 artists on the opening night to come and reimagine them. So to paint in things that they would like, or to decorate the shopscapes that we created. And then afterwards that was thrown open to members of the public. Within the 3 weeks that exhibition was running, we had nearly 2,000 visitors, and loads of people actually got involved with painting and creating an incredible landscape across the walls of the gallery. That was fantastic, but also really established for us what was really important about that is public participation and people getting involved to see things in a different way. And of course the town of Wrexham, people are incredibly proud of a lot of the buildings, a lot of the landmarks here, and it was great that people were able to work with those in a creative way. Beyond that, we looked at, as I say, we were looking at empty shops. Just after Folks Wales of 2013, our proposal for an empty shop landed on the desk of a landlord at the same time as an organisation called East Street Arts, who are based in Leeds. They open up empty shop space across the entirety of the UK for the purposes of giving artists a place to be based, exhibitions, workshops and studio spaces. So our proposal landed on the desk of the landlord at the same time as East Street Art's proposal landed. The landlord looked at them both and said, right, we've got something going here. So they, at that point, gave us the keys to what was the former JJB Sports, which had been closed already just over 12 months. We walked in there, massive empty space. So really, it was a total blank canvas for our imagination. Then beyond that, we started to open up a series of other empty shops. So once we'd opened in Deg Un in July 2013, we also took on another shop around the corner, which is Gallery 3B, where we had some international exhibitions and impressive events, including Folks Wales of 2014, so the year later. BBC were based there to do their introducing stage, and we worked from there. We also took on the next door shop to that, 3A, where we had a dance school run by Dancing Shoes in Wrexham, and then later on, a little bit later, so coming into towards the end of 2014, we opened up the windows of Burton's shop, the old Burton store in Wrexham. And what we did there was we used that as a shop window to reflect the exhibitions that were going on in our galleries at the time and give people a bit of a shop front where they could see what was happening in Wrexham.
I didn't realise that, East Street was from Leeds.
They're great.
I didn't realise that at all. I just thought it was just the same company, just kind of two different names almost. I didn't know that.
So East Street Arts, yeah, they're an organisation, as I say, they work across the UK. They work in a lot of towns which have struggled with empty shops, which are obviously a big problem on the high street, and trying to turn those into something a little bit more attractive and exciting, really, for shoppers.
I don't know. This is another reason why I kind of wanted to do this, is because people see like Deg Un and like all this other stuff going on, but they never really see you or anyone else. And just from, I've known you for a couple of years now, on and off. I think you're quite humble about it.
Well, maybe. It's not just me. There are lots of people out there who get involved. We've always taken a partnership approach. Certainly, if I was standing there working it all by myself, not a lot would probably happen, And I think part of the secret of making a project like Deg Un work is getting as many people involved as possible. From artists, filmmakers like yourself, various promoters and event organisers and bands and people that just want to do something different and something interesting and need the space to actually allow that thing to flourish. Is part of the secret. We've tried to make it for people as easy as possible, for people just to walk in, tell us what they want to do, and then if we feel that's something we can help with and facilitate, then we'll certainly do that at a cost-free or supremely cheap, really. And that's part of it, really. I think it needs to be a space where people's imagination can run wild, and that was precisely the reason why we set up Deg Un. Obviously, Deg Un started as literally an empty space for exhibitions, but within a very short time we started to build studio spaces and a woodwork shop, which came online very quickly. We had big project space in a place called The Void, which was a massive, looks like an underground car park, but actually is on the second floor, a real sort of industrial space. But again, a blank canvas really for music video makers, filmmakers, and people to just spread out and do big, large-scale projects, which they otherwise would really struggle for space.
Especially in the local area. There's not really, this is kind of another reason why I wanted to do it, because of what all that Deg Un has done for not only myself and other young people, and then the fact that you and everyone else who's worked on it, kind of they're there, but they kind of keep quiet and just they're happy with what they've done. That's kind of why I wanted to make this whole thing, was just primarily kind of show that there are people doing things. It's not all doom and gloom. You know, there is some positive stuff going on in Wrexham, you know.
Well, it is, because I think it gives people encouragement that, as you say, things are going on, but also that it is doable, really. I think since Indigene, we've seen lots of positive changes in Wrexham. Obviously, I was at Indigene for 5 years, running it alongside Mike Jones, who was a local artist at the time. He was looking for opportunities within the arts, and it just so happened that we were at the same time. So actually, we joined forces on that and took a partnership approach. Then, we were working with Glendower University and various people like that. It's very, very difficult to pinpoint highlights because there were just so many of them. But actually, for me, I think ongoing highlight was VoiceBox. VoiceBox started at Indigene. Tim, who started that up, turned up at Indigene one day. I think he'd known Mike from school. He'd heard about Indigene and what was going on, and he'd been running various creative writing classes and things like that as part of his work at Glendower. He was doing his degree at the time, and he was really keen to do something interesting. And VoiceBox was his idea. He came with that. Didn't really know how to get it going, so we worked together. We talked about ideas. And then we just went for it. We just held the first one, and then, the rest is history, as they say, really. VoiceBox is still going to this day. It's now moved from Indigene and now is nomadic, but currently at Bank Street Coffee. And it's really going very, very well. From VoiceBox, the Larynx emerged, a group of people sort of all into sort of hip-hop and that genre of music. Now they're their own company and doing their own sort of nights and projects. So fantastic, and VoiceBox is a huge success for us, and again, a demonstration of how a partnership approach can lead to something much bigger. The Neck Deep show that we did there, we got three young people turned up at Indigene one day, keen to get involved in the arts, keen to look at doing gigs, but again, I hadn't done that before. Needed a little bit of support and advice to get that together. We backed them and put up the money for their first gig, which took place, I think it was early 2014. And that those three young people then went forward to create Reckless Promotions, which is still going, Reckless Music. They're going from strength to strength, just started a new website, doing their own gigs at various venues around town. But we were able to give them their first show, and it was a sellout show with Neck Deep. You can't really get better than that for your first gig. We did some really interesting performances in the round, which we did with Baby Brave and Camera and bands like that, which was a really interesting atmosphere to see a band sort of in the round. It's not something you get to see where you can literally walk all the way around the band. That was a really interesting experiment for both us and the musicians involved, and a little bit of a challenge for the sound guys from Spectrum Promotion. Really, really good, sort of interesting projects. Our opening day was a massive highlight for me, where we worked with Glendower University to bring out their graduate show for the first time out of the university. We brought the whole show over. So we had ceramics and applied arts, we had painting, we had graphic design, all in this massive space. So it was an incredible opportunity for them as well, because when they do their degree show, it's spread all over the art school, and actually to see it all in one place is incredibly impressive. And that was due to the staff there at the art school, who are really keen to work with us and to bring art to where the people are, which I think was part of what Indigene really was all about. And John McClellan, who's the head of fine art there, just was instrumental in making that happen. There are some other stuff, the Finnish Exchange, which is amazing, part of our international work. Maria Bernarda, who was our resident curator at Indigene for more or less the whole time I was there. She had already looked at Finnish exchanges and had done one previously, but we've held several since then, both at Indigene and 3B. But again, phenomenally great work, sort of coming from some of the best international artists. Some of whom are not just based in Finland, but based in Berlin and places like that. We were able to work with one of the offshoot groups from Berlin, as well as a result of those Finnish exchanges, and those were incredible exhibitions. The Nonarchy, where we worked with artists from the Black Mountains down in South Wales. And we looked at the idea of what they could bring to us while also working with the space available. So all of the work was made for the space. It was all on that idea of bringing things from south to north while working with the environment. So everything was done site specific for Deg Un. That was an incredible project. Took a full year to get that work together and finished. And that was, I think, one of my personal favourite exhibitions. Comma Boat, which was a first video installation. The first time ever it appeared outside of a major gallery, so it appeared in the Museum of Modern Art in New York and various other international galleries. And it was the first time it had ever appeared, well, not just outside of a famous international gallery, but in a pop-up gallery. You know, absolutely amazing. A lot of work to get the specifications right for those. And for it to actually go in, but we did that, and it was incredible. Other things were part of our partnership working, really. We worked really closely with Wrexham, who were run by the council, Stefan Jones-Hughes, who was the arts manager at the time, and I give him a lot of credit for really the whole atmosphere of the arts between 2012 and this present day. Because Stefan brought a new approach into Wrexham very much and was very encouraging of our setting up of Deg Un, and as such brought 3 off-site exhibitions to us. One by Ronan Devlin, which was a massive projection screen across a huge space that interacted with people who walked into the space, creating incredible silhouettes and patterns. Another one by Stefan Gantz, who looked at the idea of borders. We're a border town, and he wanted to really reflect what borders meant and how people responded to them. But also Simon Prophet, who looked at ideas of sort of Heath Robinson-style interventions into the space, which were both sound and movement installations. All those 3 were done in the void. And were hugely successful, both in terms of public footfall, but also just in terms of the quality of work that we were able to bring. Other highlights, so God, I mean, I could go on all day. Beat Painting Prize, the first time it was ever been held in North Wales because the space had never been available. That's an international painting prize that started in South Wales, in Swansea, by the Elysium Gallery and Jonathan Powell there, and we were able to work with them to bring that incredible exhibition here to North Wales, and incredibly proud of being able to achieve that.
I remember the Borders one, the one that was in the void, wasn't it?
That's right. That was the tug of war, for example. That was one of the ones. And
didn't it have all the projections going as well?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Incredible. So
I filmed that video. I made that video of that opening night.
Right, fantastic. Yeah, and
that's where I'll splice that in.
Yeah, there we are. Perfect.
Keep that in, yeah.
And I'm just trying to think of other things that
You've mentioned plenty. I mean, honestly, like you said, you could go on for.
I could, genuinely could. Yeah, there we are.
That's a good thing, though. That's a good thing because clearly, it's been very successful.
It really has, and I mean, I think part of the pleasure there is just being able to work with lots of different people, lots of different groups. Whether it's Glyndŵr, whether it's the Black Country, the Black Mountain artists, Coleg Cambria. We did some incredible work with over Focus Wales. Looked at working with the students to again do site-specific stuff. And it's that's really exciting. It's the ability to work with people of lots of different creative talents at different stages of their careers, to actually make something happen.
Actually, kind of brings us on to the next question, which is, what does this project and Deg Un and all the other things that you've worked on, what does that bring to the local community?
I think there's 2 communities there. Really, there's the local community who are here based in Wrexham, but also the wider arts community. North Wales is incredibly geographically disparate, and because of that, I think for artists who might be working in their own studios, based around the county, there's not really been a centre for them before, so somewhere they can focus their talents and somewhere they can get together. And that was part of, again, really our reasoning for setting up Deg Un. It's a base for artists that's artist-led, led by the creative community that established around it, and are able to use that space, really. I mean, the phrase is baggy space, really, which sort of means a space that you can convert and make into whatever you want. And that was part of the philosophical approach that we took to Deg Un. So it can be an exhibition space, it can be a performance space, it can be a space to have a community meeting. It can be a space where people have a workshop to learn a new skill. It can be a space where people will come and make a video or a film. So it can be any amount of different things. And I think that reflects really the amount of people that we've worked with over the years. We've had theatre productions from the National Theatre Wales. We worked with the Welsh National Opera while they were working in Wrexham. We've used it for space for the Christmas lights sort of setup, and where all the acts and everything sort of hid out before they went on stage. We've used it for large community meetings around local issues like the fracking debate, which was going on when we had the potential of a local fracking site. We were able to work both creatively with a group of artists, but also speak to and create a local dialogue both between the protesters, but also the local communities that would have been affected by the decisions around that issue. So it's a big community space. It's like a community centre in the middle of town, with just a very strong creative sort of focus, really, and that's what Deg Un is. There's no real limitations for what we would use it for, only the imagination of the people involved. And we'd always try and be, put a creative slant on anything that took place there. And one of the things that Deg Un was able to offer for the first time in Wrexham were studio spaces for a whole range of artists, from printmakers at one end, woodworkers, painters, print and photographic artists, as well as people who were doing sort of various sculptural forms and things like that. Part of the joy there is bringing a community of people together, from musicians to sculptors to photographers to filmmakers, because a lot of the creative skills that people have really overlap. And actually, you'll find the same people that are very, very talented photographers might be very talented musicians. And actually, to see that synthesis of different skills and talents coming together allows for people to collaborate and cooperate on large-scale projects, which otherwise wouldn't happen.
How do you think Wrexham has changed in the last decade, culture-wise?
I think Wrexham in the last decade has really got a lot more confidence in its cultural offering. I mean, I've been working with artists in Wrexham for about the last 15 years in one way or another, from musicians and visual artists, filmmakers, etc. I see a lot more output now in Wrexham. I think it's really starting to come into its own. When we first set up Deg Un in 2013, there was very, very little out there for artists. One main gallery run by the council, which wasn't a bad space, but ultimately needed investment. Quite a small arts community that were gathering around Wrexham, but really didn't have anywhere to go. I think Deg Un, sort of the opening of, provided a bit of a model for a lot of different people. For example, we've seen the emergence of Twig, the Wrexham Independent Gallery, who run a series of workshops, have their own space now in town, to sort of selling work, exhibiting work, have some really interesting sort of courses going on. And again, they're a bit of a gathering point for lots of different artists from different sort of places and different genres who can all work together. And obviously, the main thing is we've seen the emergence of T-Paub. I think Deg Un served as a bit of a trial, really, for T-Paub, in that it provided that sort of baggy space, was artist-led, was allowed lots of different things to come together in one place. And I think that's reflected going forward in that huge positive investment that T-Power represents. Because the Arts Council now are looking at Wrexham as a serious venue, a serious place, destination. We're attracting a lot more arts and cultural tourists to the area. I think that's also reflected by people like Destination Wrexham looking at our cultural assets, the museum, the aqueduct, obviously an international heritage site, and other places that are looking to reflect our cultural history, which I think is vital. But T-Power, as I've said, being the main one, I mean, T-Power really has opened up an entire new landscape for the arts in Wrexham, both as a performance space, a space where people can go and learn, and also a world-class exhibition space, which was something that Wrexham was seriously lacking and in need of, I feel. Whether the attitudes of people locally have really caught up with where the arts and culture are in Wrexham, I mean, that's a slightly separate issue. I think when T-Power was being built, we saw a lot of local opposition to money being spent on what they regarded as frivolous, maybe in the face of cuts. And we all have to sort of hold our hands up and say, there are serious cuts that affect social services, affect our health provision, bin collections, road repairs. Everything, we've come through a very tough time over the last few years in Wrexham, where we've seen sort of our infrastructure being seriously shaken. But I think, it's really important to make those positive investments, because investing now will have a massive impact on the future of the town, and really provides a bit of a positive beacon, a light in the darkness, really, for Wrexham and its own pride in its cultural output. And I think, that investment was really, really important. And I think, in that, we've seen a lot of other improvements happening in the town, from, the street scene being improved, but also from a commercial perspective. When we moved into Deg Un, say in 2013, we did a count of shops that were empty in the region of where we were. And within a 300-metre radius, we pinpointed over 40 empty shops on the high street, including Island Green, including a number of other spots around us. Now, I haven't done that count since. However, because I'm aware of various shops being filled, I'd now estimate that was between 10 and 20. And actually, that might not always seem significant when you look at the high street. It's actually a massive improvement, and I've really seen businesses starting to look at Wrexham again, and it's a town that can provide a lot of opportunity for new businesses. And local derived businesses, importantly, so independent traders, which I think are vital for our future economy. We can't rely on the big nationals anymore, because they're under their own pressures. But I think more people are now looking positively at the town centre, and I think the arts and culture have got, can take some credit for that, because whether it's Deg Un, whether it's Twig, whether it's the Wrexham Street Art Project, or whether it's T-Power, it's all positive forward momentum for the town.
Kind of off the cuff question I haven't written down, but I've just thought of that might be quite good. Would you say the council's been quite supportive of the Foundry, and all the kind of local, almost independent kind of arts and culture stuff going on? Would you say they've been supportive and, helpful and positive? And
Well, I mean, I think the local authority don't always get the praise they deserve. I think certainly from the perspective of a lot of the actual council staff that we've worked with throughout the years. I mean, Isabel Watson, who was the town centre manager, and Stefan Jones-Hughes, who was the arts manager for Wrexham, were instrumental in helping Deg Un and this projects move forward. And at that stage, they had a very, very large input. We've worked with Amanda Davis, who's now the head of the town centre team and the events team, who again, has been vital for us, our continuation as an organisation, but also in marketing the town and providing a positive space where landlords can come to town and actually look at it. They're great drivers of change in Wrexham and don't always get the credit for the work that they do. I think Joe Bickerton and his work on Destination Wrexham and bringing a lot of the tourist attractions of Wrexham together. Again, vital. People have started to really recognise, I think, what our assets are as a town. And, it requires someone, who works for an organisation like the local authority to really be in the position to start bringing together those people and those actors who are able to take the town forward. Because I think there are lots of companies working on their own, doing things, but I think together we have a much greater impact and ability to really take this town forward. And I think that's really started to happen. I've noticed that in lots of different areas, including arts and culture, but in lots of other areas as well. Over the last 5 years, certainly, I've really noticed a difference. Our local councillor, who has worked with us, Phil Wynn, he was hugely supportive of both this project, but also with other work I do at Vic Studios, the Young Person's Music Project. And it's those people who are elected members who are able to really give that little bit of a push and oomph, whether it's helping us through to get an enabling grant, which we did, to get our lift going a few years ago. And again, Phil was vital for that. And looking, not just the council, but I think our entire sort of political front. Ian Lucas has been, again, absolutely instrumental in helping Deg Un and this project and other projects just over the line sometimes, where you need that boost. You need someone that can pick up the phone and sort of talk about what you're doing here in Wrexham. That's really important, and I think it's those people who have really helped us go forward.
I mean, I feel like you mentioned, like Phil Wynn and Ian Lucas and stuff. I feel like people kind of put the policies of big parties kind of in the way of what really matters, which is stuff going on in your area and the people who will make a positive difference, and like you said, make that push to actually get things over the line and get things done.
That's right.
And like you said, Phil Wynn's done quite a lot of good work. Ian Lucas. I know there's more. I can tell there's definitely more.
Well, there are, but I mean, ultimately, it's very hard to look at national politics and then actually, see how that impacts Wrexham as a town. I think party loyalties aside, it's important that people work together. And actually, I think that support, at the council level and then the higher political level. Ian has been instrumental in lots of different projects. He brought Tom Watson down here to Focus Wales last year to see a lot of the great work that was happening in town. And it gives us that bit of a national profile to let people know what's going on, which I think really important.
Yeah, it kind of helps it put it on the map.
That's exactly right.
Which is, I think, what you and plenty of other people are trying to do, just kind of give it that push it needs.
Yeah.
Do you think you've had a positive impact on the community through the things you've done and the things you've set up?
I think so. I mean, it's always hard to say because, it's, you're working with like a lack of statistics, but we do get a lot of feedback from both artists, members of the public. I mean, what we try to do is to bring art to where people are, and in that allows us to open up a dialogue. One of the groups that we've worked with very strongly at Deg Un over the years has been Haval, who deal with a lot of mental health outpatients, in a supportive environment, sort of supporting people in terms of filling in paperwork and that sort of the nitty-gritty of life, but also they ran a lot of art groups and a lot of sort of sessions for people that wanted to learn various art forms. And for us, that led to a series of exhibitions, which we did annually over 4 years. And it sort of, as I say, helps that dialogue about difficult issues. Mental health is something that I don't think enough people talk about, and I think it's vital. And for people to come in and be able to see work on the wall from people that have suffered with mental health conditions, and see the sort of the positive transitions people can make, from addiction, from mental health issues, then to a real success story of being able to really get in touch with their own talents and their own creative selves. So, there's direct impacts on the community that we've had like that, but there's also the indirect impacts. So we work with New River Retail, who are our landlords at Deg Un. They own empty shop stock, and retail spaces across the country, some of which is obviously empty. And we worked really closely with them in Wrexham. They were our landlords at Deg Un, but also 3A and 3B. We've worked with them across a number of other units that they have in Wrexham. And we were able to actually go out and talk to potential tenants. So rather than bringing the estate agents out from Manchester who don't really know Wrexham, New River would ask if I could go out to actually speak to them, show them around the premises, but also talk to them about Wrexham. And that success directly led to 3A and 3B, both massive empty units being filled. Other shops within Wrexham also being filled. And so, within our work over 5 years, we managed to let 6 different shops for New River Retail. So that's another direct impact that, again, wouldn't necessarily be noticed by the community, but certainly the shops get noticed by the community because they're no longer empty. So there's ways like that that we're able to work. But another way that we've really been able to provide a boost to the community is bringing an audience together. I think the artists in Wrexham have suffered from a lack of a centre point, as I said, and actually over the 5 years that we were at Deg Un, certainly, but even before that with other projects that we've worked on, like the St Giles Sessions that we ran with Focus Wales, and working closely with organisations like Focus and others. I think we've really been able to sort of target an arts audience in Wrexham, which now I think T-Palb are getting some benefit from, but also others. I've spoken about VoiceBox, who massively successful project and night that now goes on every month. And I think we've been, able to help put that audience together for a larger sort of scale of events for the arts in Wrexham.
I mean, you make a good point when you talk about like mental health and that and stuff like that. I mean, from what I know, from like my experience working with like different like local charities in Wrexham and stuff, I know that VOW work closely with the uni for like mental health and like the art stuff that goes on. They kind of work together on that, and then like you mentioned, working with them as well and stuff. It feels like there's quite a nice, almost unseen circle, that's like if you go there and you have problems, they'll pass you on to there, and then if you want to do that, and it's like a nice kind of circle of like, you want to do this, great, you can go to there and do that. If you need some help with this, blah blah blah. And it's a nice, or like I said, unseen kind of circle of like basically assistance. It just goes around and can get someone either from a really low place or someone who's already like just wants to help others out, and it's a nice kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, because we're all working together, it's a nice opportunity for each other to signpost. We've signposted people to the Haval groups in the past, in the same way that Haval have signposted people back to us for studio space and things like that. So it is all about cooperation and actually, if people are working together, it makes life a lot easier, certainly, and provides a genuine, front for for the public to see that things are actually happening, they are going on, and all these organisations are working together, for the future success of Wrexham.
I mean, knowing like how Wrexham can seem from the outside, especially with the media and all that stuff, like the whole spice epidemic they were calling it and stuff like that, it's nice to hear that there is although maybe a little bit kind of under the radar, there is like I said before, kind of positive things going on and stuff like that. If you had to give some advice to a young person looking to do what you do or something similar, setting stuff up in the community, what would your advice be?
I think if the advice I would give to a young person who was looking to sort of be part of what's going on is get involved, really. Look at what's going on out there already, because there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel. If people are doing something, I'd almost guarantee that they certainly want support and help doing that. And that's a great way to actually learn the ropes. So find out a little bit about how to run something, find out, you know, the things involved, because often it's not just as simple as opening an empty shop. There's lots of different things to think about, from insurance to health and safety to actually, you know, where's your audience going to come from? So I'd say certainly get involved in what's going on. There's Deg Un, which is still ongoing under the new committee, Deg Un Arts, and they're sort of going very strong. There's Twig, there's T-Paub. So there's loads of different ways to actually sort of find out a little bit about, you know, how things work. But really, secondly, I'd say go for it, really. You know, if you've got a strong idea and you think no one else is doing it, well, you know, approach people, find out how, you know, they might be able to help you put things on. I think one of the secrets of our success has been to get people involved, and whether that's individuals who can help you out or whether it's organisations like Glyndŵr, the local authority, Focus Wales, you know, ourselves as this project, and others. You know, there are various others out there who will help and support the ideas that you have. But then DIY, you know, do it yourself, get out there and, you know, start it small, make it organic. You know, trying to open something that's massive, you know, sort of first off isn't always possible, you know, unless you have loads of people already. Start talking about the idea on social media, start talking to people that might be able to provide some input to that idea, and bring people together around your idea, really. But certainly, just get out there and have a go. You know, it's better to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission, is I think one of the sayings, and I think that's true. You know, you've got to start somewhere, see what you can do.
I think that's it. Brilliant. I think that was right on the nose.